What's going on, guys? Dare here with Fantasy Football Advice, coming at you with another fantasy football video. Today, we are going over some early round wide receivers. The last video I did in this sort of series, it wasn't as helpful as I would have liked, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go over some players that I really like at their ADP, then also let you know which players I don't like at their ADP. This will only consist of the early round guys, sort of a love-hate list. Before we do get into the video though, stat of the day. Yesterday's stat of the day was which quarterback ranked dead last in intended air yards per attempt. The correct answer was Teddy Bridgewater. Congratulations, Steve Cialaro, you got this one right. As for today's stat of the day, which quarterback led the league in dropped passes? Leave your answer in the comment section down below. We'll be happy to let you know who wins in tomorrow's video. Also, guys, we are now in mid-August. Our drafts are right around the corner. Make sure you're prepared. Consider signing up for our draft package. It is loaded with information. We may not have the opportunity to break down every player on video, but we do have player breakdowns on all draftable players available in our draft package. You'll also have access to the rankings, our sleepers, targets, busts, risk ratings, consistency charts, and more. So if that interests you, you can sign up at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. Link, as always, in the description box below. With that out of the way though, let's hop right into the video, and I'm going to start off with a player who I'm not very fond of going at their current ADP. They're a tier 1 wide receiver, and it's DeAndre Hopkins of the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not sitting here trying to deny the talent of DeAndre Hopkins. He's undoubtedly one of the most talented wide receivers in the league. Excluding his rookie season, he's averaged double-digit fantasy points in 5 of the last 6 seasons, including 3 of those seasons actually averaging over 17 fantasy points per game in half PPR leagues. That's a true difference maker at the position, and he's been able to do that with 11 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball. So to doubt him at his current ADP when he's having one of the more talented arm talents throwing him the ball, most people may not get on board with that take, and I understand that, but he is a receiver who has changed teams, being a first year in a new offense. Historically, we have seen talented receivers struggle in that first year. Think Odell Beckham most recently, although Odell Beckham's struggles could also be chalked up to injury. Allen Robinson, the year before that, he was in the same boat. As we know, A-Rob coming into this year, his second year in that offense, he completely popped off. So while DeAndre Hopkins may be at a decreased level of risk in this area just due to the fact that he's had so much success with many different quarterbacks, it is something that could impact his 2019 production. That risk is really not baked into his ADP. We also have to take a look at how DeAndre Hopkins puts together his fantasy points, and he does it through heavy volume. He's not the type of receiver to have high yards after the catch. In fact, he ranked 27th in yards after catch in 2019 despite ranking 3rd in overall receptions. So when taking a look at his yards after catch per reception, he always ranks consistently near the bottom of the league. DeAndre Hopkins, he's not the type of receiver to take a slant to the house, so in order for him to have these massive upside games, it's going to come on the back of major volume. Can we guarantee he's going to get major volume in this offense? While the investment in talent does dictate a high level of usage, the consistency, it may not be there. Arizona, they spread the ball around very effectively last season. While it's not in any way guaranteed to translate to the 2020 season, it is worth noting it's the only sample we have with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, so it's all we really have to go off of. Last season, the targets for the wide receiver position were remarkably close between Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. Fitz ended the season with 109 targets, Christian Kirk with 108. Kirk did play in less games, so he was outpacing Fitzgerald while on the field, but they also did target the running back position with a high level of frequency. Between David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, and Chase Edmonds last season, the running back position received over 100 targets. If we're talking, the 2 leading receivers had just over 100 targets, and the running backs had just over 100 targets. It seems like the target distribution on this team was pretty evenly split. Could this change with DeAndre Hopkins now on the team? Definitely. But would it surprise anybody to see a target distribution that was more evenly split amongst all the pieces in this offense? It wouldn't surprise me at all. If that does happen, that could have massive impacts on the receiver who's averaged 166 targets over the last 5 seasons, who has proven, due to his skill set of not being strong in the area of yards after catch, to need heavy volume in order to produce at a high level. Moving from a player who I dislike at their ADP over to a player that I love where their ADP is, and it's Odell Beckham Jr. of the Cleveland Browns. Right now, you can draft draft Odell Beckham as low as the wide receiver 14. That completely blows my mind. Yes, he had a bad season, but we talked about it earlier in this video and throughout the offseason. Free agent receivers, changing teams, there is going to be some bumps. Odell Beckham, undoubtedly one of the most talented receivers in the league skill-wise. He was not immune to that factor, and also he had to deal with injuries. We saw it in his play, watching him on the field. Matt Harmon in the reception perception charted out his success rate, and he posted his lowest grades of his entire career. His success rate versus man coverage dropped all the way down to 68.3% in 2019. Prior to that, he had never fallen below 76%. But outside of that, you have to look at the facts on this one, guys. Odell Beckham Jr. quietly ranked third in air yards last season. Air yards historically have been one of the most predictive stats in being able to determine projected fantasy points, and somebody as talented as Odell Beckham Jr. can easily translate air yards into fantasy points. Last season didn't quite work out for him, like we said, with the injuries, but the way that the Browns used him, where Baker Mayfield was looking to target him deep downfield, these are all positive marks that we can look forward to for the 2020 season. Last season, Odell Beckham ranked second in the entire league in the area of deep targets that went 20 plus yards downfield. While we would have liked to have seen more of them catchable, we can also chop up some of that to chemistry that will be built upon with Baker and Odell heading into their second season together. We also have to question the health of Jarvis Landry. Throughout this offseason, there have been rumors Jarvis Landry may not be ready to start week 1. He was activated off the PUP, which is presumably a good sign for his availability for week 1, but up until this moment, we really don't have the knowledge to say that is going to be a guarantee. If Jarvis Landry misses time, Odell Beckham could have massive weeks early on in the season, the types of weeks that could set you up for an advantage. And while we don't need Jarvis Landry to be injured or not on the field in order for Odell Beckham to perform, if Landry isn't available, that just increases the ceiling of Odell Beckham even more. And right now, being able to get him as the wide receiver 14 definitely has a lot of recency bias baked into it, so take advantage of that. Draft Odell Beckham anywhere you can at the wide receiver 14 because you're getting a phenomenal deal. Moving over to a receiver who I'm not fond of their ADP right now, and it's JuJu Smith-Schuster of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Currently, Fantasy Pros has him ranked as the wide receiver 10. Now that is just absolutely crazy, guys. The old saying, we don't dislike players, we dislike their ADP, could not be more accurate to JuJu for this upcoming year. We currently have him ranked as the wide receiver 15, and if everything stands as it is, and ADPs don't adjust and players go where they're projected to, we probably won't have many shares of JuJu on our teams. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's going to all around be a bust. I think he has a strong chance to finish and play consistently throughout the season. I just don't see him having a massive amount of upside in this offense. Look, I get it. Ben Roethlisberger, he threw for 5,000 yards in 2018, virtually the last time we saw him healthy and on the field. I'm also not sitting here trying to tell you that Big Ben's arm is playing a major factor into my decision. No, I am heading into the season expecting him to have a healthy arm and that not holding back this offense. But there are two factors that I do feel are concerning for me, and one is going to be the phenomenal defense of this team. I went back over the past 15 years. There was no team that had a larger disparity when it came to a very strong defense and a very poor offense. Last season, the Pittsburgh Steelers had a pitiful offense. Their defense was still able to rank third in DVOA. That is phenomenal. When your defense can't step off the field and they're still able to perform consistently, get turnovers, and set your offense up with good field position, imagine what they can do with a more healthy and conducive offense that doesn't force their defense to be on the field for virtually the entire game. It's not that I don't believe that JuJu has the ability to produce a top 5 season skill-wise, nor that Big Ben's arm has the ability to make that happen. It's more that I just don't think it's going to be a necessity for this team. Their strong defense should keep them in contention in the run game and option in all quarters, and passing volume in most games is likely going to decrease in the fourth quarter in games where they have a lead. I know their projected win total is just 9, but they are in a division with the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, two strong teams, but my personal take is that they can outperform that, and I do believe that they are a bit underrated as a team heading into this year, and most of it is on the back of their strong defense. Now, the second risk factor that comes down to it is we've never seen JuJu Smith-Schuster play the de facto 1 role. Is he going to play more outside? Is he going to play more snaps from the slot? We're really not sure exactly how it's going to pan out. We haven't seen it throughout an entire season. The last time we saw him healthy for an extended stretch of time with Ben Roethlisberger was with Antonio Brown on the field. We're not going to know exactly what it's going to look like offensively with JuJu as the top target, and for that, that's going to add in risk. When you're drafting him as the 10th wide receiver off the board, you're not factoring in that risk, and this is also a player coming off of an injured season. So I do want to throw you one last early round wide receiver that I really love, and looking at the guys that we have labeled as targets, we have Allen Robinson, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, all players that we've discussed in plenty of videos. The one that looks like we've discussed probably the least is actually Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings. He has been featured in videos of ours like safest players to draft, and it's for good reason. His workload, it is as secure as it comes. If you're somebody who drafts really running back heavy in the early rounds, that's definitely our suggestion to do so. Securing a wide receiver with a guaranteed high workload is going to give you the combination of safety and upside that you'll need to compete against any team in your league. There are only 2 reasons that we are even getting a draft day discount on Adam Thielen, because think about it. There's no Stephon Diggs here. Rewind 1 year ago and you told us that Adam Thielen would be in an offense without Stephon Diggs. This would be a guy that would be a borderline top 5 pick at the position. As recent as 2018, this was a player who had 113 receptions, nearly 1,400 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns, averaging 15.7 fantasy points per game. That's massive. 15.7 fantasy points per game? That would have ranked 3rd last season. Adam Thielen, he has top 5 upside. Yes, I understand that this offense, it may not have a ton of passing volume, but it's going to come up from last season. Kevin Stefanski, he is no longer on the team. We cannot head into the season expecting that the offense look identical to what it did a season ago. And even if we were heading into last season and told you that Stephon Diggs was not on the roster, even if we knew how heavy that the pass run splits would be, Adam Thielen would still be a top 10 pick at the wide receiver position. Right now, Adam Thielen's not even being drafted as a wide receiver 1. He's a top end wide receiver 2. That to me screams value. His only competition for targets at the receiver position is going to be rookie Justin Jefferson. Jefferson has no built chemistry with Kirk Cousins, at least not heading into the season. And while the run game was healthy the entire season last year with Dalvin Cook, Cook has not proven to be a player we can rely on to play a full season. If Dalvin Cook does miss a significant amount of time or does not finish the season due to a season-ending injury, that's going to force the hand of the Minnesota Vikings, force them to be more pass heavy than they would have intended, and any volume in the passing game is directly going to benefit Adam Thielen and the receivers on this team. We've seen this team funnel targets to the wide receiver position. We're not worried about the tight ends taking targets. While Irv Smith, Kyle Rudolph, they are potential outlets outside of Adam Thielen, none of them are going to be getting a significant amount of volume. Most of it's going to go to Adam Thielen. Yet due to him being injured and underperforming in 2019, we're getting a massive discount on him. And as for the injury prone narrative that may be floating around, yes, he was injured last year, but prior to that, he had not missed a single game in his entire career. 5 straight seasons, 16 games. Adam Thielen, he is as safe as they come, and definitely a player you should be targeting in the early rounds at the wide receiver position. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. We really hoped you enjoyed. Let us know who some of your early round targets are or players you're avoiding at the wide receiver position. And with that, if you did enjoy this video, how about hitting that like button? If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. We thank you all for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.